welcome to Business Growth Accelerator Live. Today I just want to talk to you and tell you a story about a really good friend who is running a business, but he just has no time for himself. He's just, if I can use the cliche, running around like a headless chook. And he came to me, was having coffee the other day, and he said to me, Pete, I'm just so busy that I've just got no time to reflect. I've got no time to do the things that I'd actually like to do, or just to sit down and have a think. And I was thinking about this because this is so similar to so many other business owners who don't have that time to be able to understand themselves, to think, to do the things that I need to do. And I said to him, I hear what you're saying. When was the last time you actually sat down and did nothing? He looked at me. He looked at me blankly. He said, what? Sit down and do nothing? I said, yeah, absolutely do nothing. Not even have a cup of coffee. Just sit down and take time to reflect. He said, I just don't do this. And I said, isn't that interesting? Because most of us live our lives trying to do something all the time. And sometimes we just have to sit down and do nothing. Because when that happens, we can then put ourselves into receptive mode. And I said to him, I want you to try something. I want you to sit down 2 or 3 times this week for 15 minutes only. 3 times a week, 15 minutes. And just do nothing. Sit there and allow your mind just to think. And I said to him, 15 minutes will seem like an eternity for you, because your mind will still be being really active and wanting to do things. But you've got to just get your mind free to get rid of all the clutter that's sitting in there. And the thing is that sometimes we have to leave a place to get to an even better place. So, for example, if we're going from London to Manchester, we actually have to physically and metaphorically leave London to get to Manchester. Because if we don't, all right, we're going to continue to remain in London and doing all the London stuff. I hope that makes sense. Because when we're actually thinking by ourselves, all right, we actually start to have intrinsic instinct, and we also have human intuition. I'll tell you, women are really good at this intuition, but far better than what we blokes are. So the thing is, when you're sitting there, just allow your instincts to bubble up and to give you a guidance to where you should be going to, what you actually should be doing. Because when you're free of the clutter, your mind is going to be receptive, and you're going to actually start to realize and understand what needs to happen. Now, here's the other thing too. As you're doing this, it might be a painful process. It might be a painful process because you realize there are things that you need to do that you haven't been doing. But, pain is part of life. And as I spoke to my friend, I said, when you're sitting there and you realize that something hasn't been working, and you see that, gee whiz, I've let this go on for too long, you've got to let it go. And it could be painful. But this is where the changes are made. This is where the changes that need to happen, regardless of how dramatic or how scary they are. Excuse me. Because if we don't confront those changes, if we don't confront that fear, then we continue to do the same thing. And it's like, as I've said before, a snowball. It's rolling down the hill, and it starts off quite small, but as it rolls down further down the hill, it gets more momentum, it gets bigger. It gets to the stage where all of a sudden it's too big and we just can't control it, and it keeps going down and just smashes into something, and it just erupts, explodes into a huge thing of snow. So the thing is that when you're sitting there by yourself with no distractions at all right, have a look at what you think your destiny is. Because when you look at a new destiny, as I said before, you've got to leave your old destiny behind. You've got to leave the old London behind to get to Manchester. And I think sometimes fear stops us from achieving this. If we can actually look at what it is we need to do, confront it, and actually move forward, then all of a sudden we're actually going to do something. Because it's about the psychological leaving as well. And it's physically, it's easy enough. You could just leave on a train, for example, but it's the psychological leaving of that old place to get to this new place. So when you're sitting there, think about that, confront the fear, do it, and make it happen. And the thing is, if you do this 2 to 3 times a week, it'll be really interesting. Excuse me again. That your human intuition will give you ideas and thoughts, and you'll know how to confront the fear, how to make those changes. Try it. Let me know how you get on, because I think when you do this, like my friend who's doing it at present, and he's finding it's making a slight difference. He's only just started, but it is making a slight difference for him. You need to make a slight difference in your life, and you must have time for yourself. So take that 10 to 15 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week, where you just sit there and do nothing. Allow your mind to actually embrace what it is that is coming in there, that intuition. There's the hint for the day, the tip, the strategy. Go and enjoy your day. It's now the weekend. Enjoy the weekend. Have it off. And I look forward to seeing you next week.